In Terrifier, the character of Art the Clown is portrayed as a sadistic and mysterious killer whose primary motivation for murder seems to be rooted in pure chaos and brutality rather than any clear or traditional rationale. Unlike many horror movie villains who are driven by revenge, trauma, or a specific desire, Art the Clown operates more like a force of nature, deriving pleasure from the act of inflicting terror and violence. His killings are not motivated by any sense of justice or vendetta, but rather by an almost primal, unpredictable need to harm and terrorize. Art's motivation for killing seems to be driven purely by his enjoyment of violence and the fear he instills in his victims. He is depicted as a grotesque, almost cartoonish figure, which adds to the unsettling nature of his actions. His sadism appears almost performative, as though he revels in the spectacle of death. The killings are not quick or efficient, but are drawn out in a way that emphasizes his cruelty. He toys with his victims, prolonging their suffering before ultimately killing them, which serves to heighten the horror and make the audience feel a greater sense of dread. What sets Art apart from many other killers in the slasher genre is his lack of motive or backstory. He is not interested in money, revenge, or power. His violence seems to stem purely from a desire to create fear and destruction. This absence of motivation makes him unpredictable and, in some ways, more terrifying because he operates outside of any recognizable human logic. His random and senseless killings create an atmosphere of dread where no one is safe, and the audience is left to wonder who will be the next victim with no clear reason for why they are being targeted. Moreover, Art's ability to kill without remorse or explanation creates a deeper psychological horror. The fear comes not just from the physical violence, but from the realization that Art's motivations are beyond comprehension. This senselessness reflects a deeper existential terror. Sometimes evil does not have a reason, and the world can be chaotic and cruel without rhyme or reason. In summary, Art the Clown kills in Terrifier because he enjoys it. His violence is not for any material gain or personal vendetta, but is a chaotic expression of his sadistic nature. The film portrays him as a being of pure malevolent energy whose sole purpose is to create terror and suffering, making him a terrifying figure who operates outside of traditional slasher tropes. His lack of motive and enjoyment in the act of killing set him apart as an exceptionally disturbing and unpredictable antagonist. The lack of a clear motivation for Art, the Clown's killings in Terrifier, deepens his horror and sets him apart from more conventional villains in the slasher genre. His actions are not driven by personal history, trauma, or any identifiable need for revenge. Instead, Art's only motivation seems to be the creation of fear and the sheer enjoyment of his acts of violence. This makes him an unpredictable and terrifying figure because he operates without any discernible reason, and that lack of explanation creates a profound sense of unease. Another important aspect of Art's character is the theatricality of his violence. His approach to killing is often drawn out and deliberately cruel, as he takes pleasure in torturing his victims before delivering the final blow. The way he interacts with his victims is not simply a means to an end, but a form of twisted performance. Art's interactions with his prey have a sinister, almost playful element, which adds a psychological layer to the terror he inflicts. His lack of words combined with his exaggeratedly menacing behavior emphasizes the pure horror of his actions. In this way, Art is less of a traditional killer with a clear goal and more of a personification of chaos and nihilism. His disregard for human life and suffering is not motivated by any tangible or understandable reasoning, but rather by an intrinsic, almost instinctual desire to cause harm. The senselessness of his killings forces the audience to confront the uncomfortable idea that sometimes evil exists for no reason at all, making him all the more terrifying. Additionally, Art's character taps into a primal fear of the unknown. The audience is never given any substantial backstory or explanation for why he is the way he is, leaving his motivations shrouded in mystery. His lack of dialogue further reinforces his alien, otherworldly presence. He is not driven by anger, revenge, or survival. Rather, he seems to exist solely to destroy, making him seem less human and more like an embodiment of pure evil. This lack of explanation is one of the reasons why Art the Clown's violence feels so unsettling. Without understanding his purpose or what drives him, viewers are left with the terrifying notion that evil can exist without reason, an unpredictable force that acts without any discernible pattern. This creates an atmosphere where no one is truly safe, as the audience is constantly reminded that Art's next victim could be anyone, at any time, with no cause or explanation. Ultimately, Art's killings in Terrifier are not about achieving any clear objective. He kills for the sake of killing, deriving a sick satisfaction from the terror he instills and the suffering he causes. This absence of a clear motive is what makes him so horrifying, as it taps into a deep fear of uncontrollable, senseless violence. By embodying this chaotic, unpredictable force, Art the Clown stands out as one of the most unsettling and terrifying figures in modern horror.